Okay, so we're going to start reviewing for your third test of the fourth quarter. That's on Wednesday, May 8th. Extra help is on Tuesday, the 7th. For the first one, the recursive formula to describe a sequence is below. The recursive formula, recursive means that it uses a sub 1. So the reason why this is recursive is because this uses a sub n minus 1. Again, that is the previous term. So the first term is 4. To find the second term, so a sub 1 equals 4. Because it says the first 4, you have to state that. A sub 2 is equal to negative 1/2 times a sub n minus 1 times the previous term. So negative 1/2 times 4 plus 8. Which gives me, that's negative 2 plus 8 is 6. A sub 3 is equal to negative 1/2 times the previous term plus 8. So that's negative 3 plus 8 gives me 5. For a sub 4, again, that is the fourth term, so this is the last one that we're going to find. Negative 1/2 times the previous term plus 8. So that gives me 5.5 or 5.5. Okay, so you can write 5.5, you can write 11 over 2. It doesn't tell you how it wants you to answer it, so that's fine. Okay, for number 2, Nadia is visiting a friend in Denver and they decide to go hiking. Their initial altitude, 30 meters above. So that means that a sub 0, their initial altitude, so a sub 0 is 30. Every hour, their altitude increases by 15 meters. So this is arithmetic because it's increasing by a specific number. So that means we have a common difference. The common difference is 15. Write a recursive formula that can be used to find the friend's altitude after n hours. So a sub 0 is 30. You have to say that. And then recursive, again, uses a sub n minus 1. So what are you doing to the previous terms to get to the next? So this is arithmetic. So arithmetic, you are adding. So you're taking the previous term and you are adding 15 because it's increasing by 15 meters. That's all it wants. Number 3, Scarlett bought an ant farm with 50 ants. So a sub 0 is equal to 50. That's how much she buys it with. And then every week after that, the ant population tripled. So if it's tripling, you're multiplying by 3. That's how you triple something. So multiplying, that's geometric. So you have a common ratio of 3. Write a recursive formula. So first of all, you have to say where you're starting. A sub 0 is 50. And then recursive, again, uses the previous term. So a sub n is equal to, you're going to take the previous term and multiply it by 3. So you can write 3 times a sub n minus 1. Or if you write a sub n minus 1 times 3, that's the same thing. That's fine. Number 4, on the first day of July, Olivia decides to read 10 pages in a novel. So on the first day of July, that's a sub 1. She reads 10 pages in a novel. Every day after, she will read 2 additional pages. So she's adding on 2 every time. So there's a common difference because it's arithmetic, right? You're adding 2. D is 2. Write an explicit formula that can be used to find how many pages she will read on any given day. So explicit formulas, those are on your reference sheet. Because this is arithmetic, the formula is a sub n equals a sub 1 plus n minus 1 times d. So when I plug this in, a sub n is equal to what she reads on the first day plus n minus 1 times 2. If you were to clean that up, you distribute and then you combine like terms, a sub n is equal to, that gives me 2n plus 8. Number 5, Jacob decided to count the number of leaves on the trees in the backyard. The first year, there were 500 leaves. Every year, the number of leaves was 20% more. So because this is a percentage, it's increasing by a percentage, this is a geometric sequence. So geometric has a common ratio, and it's not 0.2. Okay? You are increasing by 20%. So you take 100% of what you have, and you are adding 20% to it. So R is 1.2. Write an explicit formula that can be used to find how many leaves there will be on the trees after n years. Again, explicit formulas, those are on your reference sheet. A sub n for geometric, right, because you were multiplying here. A sub n is equal to a sub 1 times r raised to the n minus 1. So a sub n is equal to 500 times 1.2. If you want to put the 0, you can, raised to the n minus 1. And that's it for your answer. For number 6, she's hosting a party, 40 party favors. So she bought 40, and as each guest arrives, she gives away 2 of them. So here, a sub 0 is actually 40. After the first guest arrives, she gives 2 of the 40 away, so a sub 1 is actually 38, because she gives 2 away each time. So because you're giving 2 away each time, you're subtracting 2 to how many you have. This is arithmetic. And you are adding, I shouldn't really say subtracting, you are adding a negative 2. Okay? Using an explicit formula, determine how many favors she will have left after the 12th guest arrives. So a sub n, again, this is arithmetic. A sub n equals a sub 1 plus n minus 1 times d. If this didn't say using an explicit formula, you can just sit there and keep subtracting 2 until you get how many after the 12th person leaves. Okay, or you can just type it in here. So we're looking for the 12th person, right, the 12th term, equals, the first term is 38. Again, after the first guest leaves, she only has 38. Plus 12 minus 1 times d is negative 2. And then that gives me 16. So she will have 16 left after the 12th guest leaves. So 16 party favors are left. Okay, again, you can just sit there and keep subtracting 2, but this is meant to be a faster way, especially if I say after the 20th guest or after however many. Okay, number 7, you rent an apartment that costs $1,200 during your first year of living there. So this is during the first year, so a sub 1 is equal to $1,200. The rent is set to increase by 5.5% each year. So the R value, careful, this is tricky. You take 100% of what you have, and then you are increasing 5.5% or 0.055. So R is 1.055. Using an explicit formula, determine what the rent would cost during your 8th year of living there. So a sub 8. Again, explicit formula, so I have to use this. I can't just sit there and find each one. This is on your reference sheet. So let me get rid of this for a second. This is geometric again, because we're multiplying. A sub n is equal to a sub 1 times r raised to the n minus 1. So I'm looking for the 8th term, right, the 8th year. A sub 8 is equal to 1,200 times 1.055 raised to the 8 minus 1. Okay? And that tells me that in 8 years, you are going to be paying $1,745.61. Again, it's money, so you have to have 2 decimals if it doesn't tell you where to round. Okay, number 8. Ariana just started running a running plan where she runs 8 miles the first week. A sub 1 equals 8. And then increases the number of miles she runs by 5% each week. Whenever you're adding by a percentage that's geometric, R is 1.05. 100% of what you have, you're increasing by 5%. If she keeps up this plan for 12 weeks using a geometric series, that's on your formula sheet. Okay, a series, this says determine how many total miles she would have to run during that time. A series adds up all of the terms. A sequence is for the individual term. The series is the total, so it adds everything up. So that formula, again, it's on your reference sheet, so you don't have to memorize, is S sub n is equal to a sub 1 minus a sub 1 times r raised to the n divided by 1 minus r. So we're looking for, how many weeks did this say? For 12 weeks. So I'm looking for the sum of the first 12 numbers. That equals 8 minus 8 times r raised to the 12th divided by 1 minus r. That can go right in your calculator, and you're rounding to the nearest hundredth. And I had gotten 127.34 miles. Okay. Number 9, Henry got a job. Company pays $40,000 during his first year. A sub 1 is $40,000. Includes a $3,000 bonus every year going forward. So you're increasing by the same amount. So you're increasing by $3,000. So D is $3,000. Determine how much money in salary he would expect to make in total during his first 15 years at the company. So in total, not just during his 15th year. This wants to know the sum of all of them. Okay, so you are going to do, this one's not on your formula sheet. This is the one that you have to know. Okay, so this is S sub n equals n times a sub 1 plus a sub n divided by 2. So n is the term number. N is 15 years that we're adding up. So now I have n, I have a sub 1. I need to find what is a sub n, which is a sub 15. A sub 15 I can find using the explicit formula, right? Because now I need to find an individual term. So a sub 15 is equal to the first term plus n minus 1 times d. So in your calculator, you're going to do 40,000 plus, in parentheses, 15 minus 1 times 3,000. And that tells me that during his 15th year, he is going to be making $82,000. Okay, so when I plug everything in, I'm looking for the sum of the first 15 years. So S sub 15 is equal to 15 times he made 40,000 during that first year, plus 82,000 during the last year, and then divided by 2. Again, this is also like before taxes, so don't plan to be making this much money, plus you have some money to be putting out too. But it gives me $915,000. Okay. And then number 10, on the first day it was posted online, a music video received 260 views. So on the first day it was posted online. So a sub 1 is 260 views. The number of views that the video received each day was increased by 14%. So 14%, so R is 1.14 because it's increasing by 14%. How many total views the video received over the course of the first 2 days that it was posted. So again, this wants the total. It doesn't just want how many views were there on the 20th day. It wants the total number of views for the first 20 days. So this wants to know S sub 20. This is geometric, so you use that formula, right? A sub 1 minus A sub 1. I'll write it down. A sub 1 minus A sub 1 times R raised to the n divided by 1 minus R. And that's for any series S sub n. So when I plug in to find S sub 15, sub 20, I don't know why I keep saying 15. S sub 20, A sub 1 is 260 minus 260 times R raised to the n is 20 divided by 1 minus R. And then this you can type right into your calculator. And we are rounding to the nearest whole. And that tells me that there's going to be 23,666 total views during those first 20 days. Number 11 is a summation. So again, you're going to plug one thing in at a time. It wants you to start at 0 and end at 3. So when you're doing this, you're going to do You're going to plug one thing in at a time. And then this 3, we're going to multiply by after. You can multiply each individual term by that if you wanted to, and then add them up. I always just wait till the end. That's up to you. You still should get the same answer as me. So I'm going to plug in m equals 0. So I do 8 minus 6 times 0, which gives me 8. Then I do m equals 1. 8 minus 6 times 1 gives me 2. When I plug in 2, I'll actually write these. 8 minus 6 times 2. So that's 8 minus 12 gives me negative 4. And then the last one I'm going to plug in is 3, because it tells me up here I'm stopping at 3. So 8 minus 6 times 3 gives me negative 10. I add all of these together, and I get negative 4, and then I still multiply that by the 3. So 3 times negative 4 gives me negative 12. So this is equal to negative 12. Number 12, an author published a book which was being sold online the first month. So A sub 1 is 3,500 bucks, and the sales are declining at 12% each month. So R is 1 minus 0.12 is 0.88. Trend continues for 8 months. Write an expression in sigma notation. So sigma notation, again, that's like for number 11. The way that you're going to do this is your start, this is your end, and then this is the explicit formula. Okay, so we have our starting point. We are starting at n equals 1. Right, we're starting in the first month, and we're ending, this says 8 months in. And then the explicit formula. So the explicit formula for a geometric sequence, again, we talked about this already, but that is a sub n equals a sub 1 times r raised to the n minus 1. So this is what you're going to plug into, and that's what's going to go right here. So this is a sub 1 is 3,500 times r raised to the n minus 1. And this is my answer here. It doesn't want you to evaluate it. It just wants you to write an expression that can be used. Okay? 13 and 14, these are review questions that we talked about the week before I gave you those green books. So if we have x to the 1/2 to the 3rd power, power to power you multiply, so that's really x to the 3 over 2 divided by. This is really a radical. This is really a fractional exponent. Radicals are fractional exponents. So this is x raised to the 4 over 3 power. Okay? So whenever you're dividing, you subtract the exponents. You're going to do 3 over 2 minus 4 over 3. Tell me it as a fraction, so that gives me x to the 1/6 power. Now, this would be okay, except because this says simplest radical form. So your answer has to be a radical. So when I put this into radical form, this is the 6th root of x to the 1st. Now 6 doesn't go into 1 at all, so that's it. There's nothing else that you can do for that. And number 14, we have those parabolas again. So the focus is -6, 2, and the y equals 8 is the directrix. Again, I always want you to graph these. So -6, 2 is right here. And then y equals 8 is up here. So that's this line. And then if I count in the middle, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 away. So I have to go 3 in between. So that's right here. So this point is -6, 5. This is concave down because the focus has to be in the middle of the parabola. So because it's concave down, P is a negative, and you're going down 3, so P is -3. Now this doesn't really help you if you don't know the formula. X minus h squared equals 4p y minus k. You need to know that formula. So this is going to be, as your final, x plus 6 squared equals -12 y minus 5. Okay? Extra help is Tuesday after school. Again, if you have any questions, you should definitely attend or ask in class before we get started. Okay? Have a good day.